Welcome to the Really Good Podcast with your host, Bobbi Althoff.
It's been a while since we last checked in on Bobbi Althoff. About a year and a half ago, I called her the biggest industry plant I'd ever seen enter the podcast scene. She seemingly appeared out of nowhere and quickly landed major guests like Drake, Mark Cuban, and other celebrities on her show, The Really Good Podcast.
I think my mom named me after a lawyer, which always kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Within a week of her interview with Drake, Bobbi was signed by a top talent agency and receiving mainstream publicity. This rapid rise led many to label her an industry plant, especially since her previous content mainly consisted of a spoof on mommy blogger TikTok videos. Despite this, she gained millions of followers, mostly moms across the country who appreciated her sarcastic humor.
There is nothing more embarrassing than walking around with one of these. Everyone knows how it got there. They know what you did.
Bobbi claims she transitioned from her TikTok career into podcasting by offering her followers $300 to get a celebrity on her show.
There's like a finder's fee, right? You said if you can get a celebrity, I will pay you $300.
Yeah.
Bobbi says that her $300 offer led to the episode with Funny Marco, which eventually resulted in her connection with Drake. She could be seen as a more successful version of Hawk Twa, with both careers having a similar, rapid rise that left people questioning the state of the world. However, Bobbi does appear to be more intelligent than Hawk Twa.
Hot two. Say it aggressive, like hot really.
Bobbi's rapid rise to fame drew criticism, with many feeling she copied her deadpan comedic style from Funny Marco. The situation worsened when she missed her son's birthday party to spend time with Drake, leading to even more online ridicule.
I flew all the way here.
You did. I really do appreciate
on my
that.
daughter's first birthday.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
You missed your daughter's first birthday for
To be here.
Dark. Regret that you'll never be able to undo.
Yeah.
Horrible parenting.
Initially, people thought her behavior was part of her dry, sarcastic brand, but it later became clear that she was being serious. During interviews, she often made flirtatious remarks, asking men if they would sleep with her or if she was their type.
Am I your type?
I'd do it.
Thank you. Would you date someone that looks like me?
Her behavior as an interview was already strange, but it became even more bizarre when people learned she was still married. Interestingly, her husband filed for divorce the same month the Drake podcast was released, sparking a lot of speculation online.
I'd do it.
One thing that stood out was how ahead of her time she was with the Drake situation. She quickly deleted their viral interview and even threw shade at his concert afterward. Eventually, her sarcastic, too cool to care persona wore thin, and she was put in her place by rapper Offset, who made it clear that she wasn't as impressive as she thought.
Be on my podcast.
Why you keep saying that cap-ass shit, man? I honestly didn't even want to do this shit. I don't fucking do interviews. You already told me you looked me up. I'm walking out on bullshit. I'm fucking with you because they're making me. You ain't got no seasoning, man. You like a plain piece of chicken just on the thing, you pull it off, and then you serve the dish. You need some motherfucking seasoning, man.
You can leave now.
This is my hotel. I paid for this motherfucker. You can leave now.
After that, she completely changed her look and appeared on a show with Keek Palmer, where she was directly accused of being an industry plant right to her face.
I know.
You're not an industry plant, right?
I am, but
You do feel kind of planty. We do have the same manager, so is this
I
kind
know,
of
isn't that
planted?
crazy?
Feels a bit planty.
This is definitely
you got here in 5 minutes. It took me 20 years.
Hey, it has been a minute.
What I think industry plant is, it's like somebody that has been that is tied to someone else in the industry and uses those connections to capitalize, and they have zero talent.
I'm not an anythinger. I don't have any talents.
People began to claim she was trying to manufacture moments, especially after she had boxer Ryan Garcia chasing her around the room like it was some playground game.
Wow, you run fast, man. Relax.
Afterward, Ryan Garcia tweeted about an intimate situation they had following the recording, which only fueled her growing reputation of being bounced around the industry.
You got some close up?
I like to read people's messages, not get room tours.
Let me read your messages.
No. I don't like
I'll let you read one message, if you let me read one message.
I delete all of my messages.
Liar.
Are you cleaning? I do. You don't? You keep your
I
messages?
delete my messages?
Yeah, you keep yours?
People that delete their messages are cheaters. I'm not a liar or a cheater. I hate liars.
Bobbi Althoff, once a popular podcast host, seems to have lost relevance lately. Her channel and TikTok are mostly inactive, and her podcasts now receive only a fraction of the views they did a year ago. Recently, I endured an hour-long interview with Bobbi on Forbes and Wired magazine, which only garnered around 10K views, showing how much her public appeal has declined. It seems her publicist orchestrated these interviews to maintain her relevance for sponsors and investors. From these interviews, I learned a lot about Bobbi, both good and bad, and her rise to fame doesn't seem as extraordinary as I initially thought. Interestingly, Hawk seems to have taken her place in the online scene. She claims that for years, she posted 5 to 10 TikToks a day, consistently racking up millions of views, gaining followers, and earning hundreds of thousands of dollars annually.
But my goal for the first year of once I started getting views and getting followers was that every single day I had to have one video that I posted that got 1 million views. So I would keep trying and trying and trying.
Using the Wayback Machine, I can confirm that her numbers align with her story, but after the Drake podcast, it seems like there was an attempt to push her as a major figure, which ultimately fizzled out. This is similar to what happens with industry plants in the music world. Fans are often shallow and quick to move on to the next big thing. One interesting thing I noticed in the interviews was Bobbi's consistent claim that she's always been driven by a desire to be famous.
I've always wanted to act or have some type of leg in Hollywood, kind of. So I felt, my family always says that if anybody in our family was going to end up where I ended up, it would be me, because I was the most driven towards that.
She even admits that the main reason she started podcasting and doing TikTok was because she saw how much money others were making from it, which motivated her to jump in.
I did that she made like at least $300 a year on her podcast alone, and I was like, that's what I need to do next. Like, I need a podcast.
For someone who claims to love money, she seems surprisingly lazy about her work. She frequently brags about going into her podcasts with little to no research on her guests beforehand.
What is your interviewing technique?
Just no research, show up, and ask questions. I was researching how he interviews people, and I was like, oh God, this is a lot of work. Let me just go in there and know nothing.
It's a lot of work.
It's so much work.
And it's worth noting that she's making these comments while being interviewed by 2 career journalists who don't seem very amused by her approach.
No, the paper on top of it.
This is just my method.
It's okay.
This is my method. I'm a journalist, so
Yeah.
I have my method.
I was making around like $250 to $300 a year.
1,000.
Yeah.
From brand deals
on TikTok.
Wow.
And 250 is great and all, but it's hard to come up with content with just me every day.
$250,000 a year as an annual income is great and all.
Yes.
It is great.
It is
It's
great.
Yeah, she makes $300,000 a year sound like a minimum wage job at Sonic, which doesn't seem like a great way to win public favor. To me, it really feels like there's no passion behind anything Bobbi does. It's all about the money or the clout. While that approach might work in some fields, it definitely doesn't seem sustainable in the entertainment industry.
From D-list to A-list. That's my goal in 10 years.
From D-list to A-list.
Yes.
She keeps insisting, over and over, that she'd be perfectly fine going back to her job at Jersey Mike's.
I had to go back and work at Jersey Mike's again to support myself. I'll make your sandwich for you.
Yeah, I'm calling absolute bullshit on that. She wasn't even happy with $300,000, so I don't buy the idea that she'd be okay going back to Jersey Mike's. During these interviews, both interviews subtly question her rise to fame and hint at the possibility that someone behind the scenes is pulling a lot of strings for her.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Why are you looking at me like that? Well, early on, I was like, is that a joke? Like, what is an industry plant? You guys,
Right.
and I would just play into it because I was like, there's no way people actually think that. But then I realized, like, what people actually
People
think that.
actually, no,
Which-
I did my reading. They actually think
They
that.
really do. And I think that it makes sense. Like, from an outside looking in perspective, I can see why they would think that.
Basically, it seems like no one is buying her story. At one point, she even gets emotional and cries over the hate she receives online.
It can be a little mean, but yeah, it doesn't bother me too much.
There's also this situation where pictures surfaced of men carrying Bobbi out of a club, and someone connected her to an NFL player based on one of her posts. She got totally embarrassed when he denied the rumors on Twitter after they caught him red-handed. There's almost nothing worse than thinking you were in a full-blown relationship, only to find out the person was hiding you the whole time or didn't want to be publicly associated with you. Now, she's been on TikTok crying about it.
Like hard to imagine finding someone who is truly good for you. It's hard to imagine there's a world where there's like someone who's actually meant for you.
I mean, talk about a turn of events. She was online talking about how it was time for her hoe phase, and now this happens.
Do a hoe? Yeah, maybe. Maybe I will.
I don't know. You said you married young and you have your 2 kids already and you're divorced. Isn't that what divorced people do after that?
Just sleep around and have fun.
And now she's recording herself tearing up on camera? It's quite the contrast.
Around Thanksgiving. And I think things moved really fast. I don't know. I thought it was fucking fate. Clearly it wasn't. It was really sweet. It raised the bar for me, which sometimes sucks because then it's like, fuck. I didn't want the bar to be raised at all. Dating is just hard, you guys. Like,
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
It's interesting how quickly some individuals fall out of favor with the public. For Bobbi and Hawktoir, it feels like they were building their careers on shaky ground, like trying to live in a house with no foundation, just waiting for a little adversity to bring it all down. Honestly, I think Drake owes Bobbi a room in his compound. If he hadn't hooked up with her and helped put her on the map, none of this would have happened. Maybe Kendrick wouldn't have even dissed him if things had played out differently. Maybe this whole situation was what pushed him over the edge, realizing that Drake wasn't like him. In all seriousness, Bobbi seems okay, but as far as her maintaining a lasting online career, I just don't see it. Her motivations seem focused on clout, material possessions, and greed. Plus, it's clear she doesn't care much about improving her podcast or putting in the effort to produce it better.